Today's lesson is going to be on 3.1, writing and grafting inequalities. Okay, first let's define what an inequality is. So an inequality is an expression or a comparison of two expressions or more using these symbols. We have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So I'll go ahead and give you a second to copy this down. And now let's go ahead and move on to writing an inequality. If I'm moving too fast, you can always pause the video. But for now, I'm just going to move on, okay? So writing an inequality, I want you to go ahead and copy down this table right here. So here we're going to have the symbol and then different key phrases that will relate to those symbols. So first off, our first symbol is the less than sign. So obviously if something says is less than, then you're going to put the less than sign. Is fewer than is also another time you'd put the less than sign, right? Another thing you could put is like is smaller than, or you could probably use your imagination and come up with a couple more. And then here's the greater than sign. The greater than sign is going to be used when you use phrases like more than or greater than. And then finally, or not finally, then we have the less than or equal to sign. This will also show up if you say something like at most or no more than. It may be confusing to have a phrase like at most when we're talking about something being less than, but think about it. You're going to use something like at most, like if you said, I have at most 13 baseballs in my garage. You would be thinking, I either have 13 baseballs, which is equal to, or I have less than that, right? Since at most, the most amount of baseballs I can have are 13, I could still have 12, 11, 10, and still meet the criteria, right? And so then we have the opposite, which is greater than or equal to, and you would use a phrase like at least. So the smallest number I can have is this number, and then anything above that. So if I said I have at least 13 baseballs in my garage, you would think I either have 13 baseballs, which is equal to, or I have 14 or 15 or 16, right? And you would also use a phrase like no less than, okay? Once again, you can pause this if you're not quite ready, but we're going to move on. So an example, we're going to take a number W minus 3.5 is less than or equal to negative 2. So I'm going to take out my highlighters for this. And we're going to highlight the things that correspond. So first off, we have a number W. So a number W. Okay, that's going to be my first piece. Minus. So minus, I'll highlight in red or pink. Minus 3.5. 3.5 I'll put in green. Is less than or equal to negative 2. Less than or equal to, it's going to be in blue. And then negative 2, I'll put that in orange. Okay? So you can see where each piece is coming from. So here's my answer. W minus 3.5 is less than or equal to negative 2. Okay, so you can see how each piece corresponds there, where I'm getting each piece. So instead of using highlighters every time, it'd be good to underline or circle certain phrases that you think will be helpful and dissecting them, maybe writing what each of them means above them or below them, right? Whatever you need to do to help you kind of solve these. All right, go ahead and do page 106, number 1 and 2. You can go ahead and pause this video and then come back here to see me do the answers. So go ahead and pause the video right now. Okay, welcome back. So let's go ahead and do numbers 1 and 2 together. Actually, I have to go grab my book real quick. You can skip ahead to when you actually see my pen on paper working on this. Okay. So number 1 says a number b is fewer than 30.4. So here we have a number b, so b is fewer than, so fewer than, I'm looking at this list here, right there, so I'm going to use the less than symbol. Okay, 30.4, and that's number 1. All right, let's look at number 2. Twice a number k, so twice a number, okay, so I have to really think about this. What does twice a number mean? Well, twice is always 2 times. Okay, so 2 times a number k is at least. Okay, where do I see at least? This is at most, so this is at least. Okay, so I need to use greater than or equal to. Is at least -7/10. So for this one, I could have written this as 2k is greater than or equal to -7/10. For now, we're not solving, we're just writing the inequality, okay? So that's the answer for number 2. Let's move on to finding the solution of an inequality. So here are the steps. I'll go ahead and show you this so you can start writing this down. Here are the steps to solving checking to see if something is a solution to an inequality. First, you're going to plug in the possible solution, then you're going to solve, and then you're going to check if the statement is true or not, okay? If the statement ends up being false, then you're going to say not a solution. If it ends up being true, you're going to say it is a solution, okay? Let's look at an example. So as an example, we have x plus 5 is greater than or equal to -2. So first thing I want to check is I'm going to ask the question, is -6 a solution? Okay, so that sounds weird at first, but let's follow the instructions. It says to plug in the possible solution. Okay, so possible solution is -6. So I'm going to plug it in for my variable, which gives me -6 plus 5 is greater than or equal to -2. And then the next step is to solve. Okay, so I'm going to solve that, giving me -1 is greater than or equal to -2. And then I need to check, is it true? Is it true? Some of you might instinctually go, no, 1 is not greater than 2. Well, that's not what we're asking. We're asking, is -1 greater than -2? And since negative numbers, the higher the negative number, the lower the number actually is, the answer here is yes, it is true. -1 is a greater number than -2, right? It's closer to 0, so it's technically greater, okay? So let's go ahead and ask the question, what about -7 and what about -8? Well, let's check both of those. So if I plug in -7, I get -7 plus 5 is greater than or equal to -2. Is that true? Well, let's solve that. Well, I get -2 is greater than or equal to -2. Is that true? Well, it's not greater than, but the question is greater than or equal to. And -2 is equal to -2. So the answer is yes. So -7 is a solution. All right, so let's check -8 then. -8 plus 5 is greater than or equal to -2. Then I get -3 is greater than or equal to -2. Is that true? again, your instincts might say, oh yeah, 3 is greater than 2, but that's not what we're asking. We're asking, is -3 greater than or equal to -2? And the answer is no. It's a bigger negative number, so it is technically a smaller number. So the answer is no. -8 is not a solution. Okay? All right, what I want you to do now is go ahead and work on have you do page 107, numbers 3 through 5, all. And then let's click on the next video when you're all finished with those problems, and we will work on those together, okay? So meet me in the next video.